Okay, hello everyone. This video is, I'm going to demonstrate generating an SSH key and then adding that key to GitLab so that we can use the Git URI that is for SSH, and it's also more secure than user ID password. Not in transit, but in terms of having the keys. So anybody can get your user ID password, but it's harder to get your keys. So the first thing we need to do is run Ssh Keygen. So we're going to save it in the standard directory, so id ss.ssh, and the passphrase, I'm not going to tell you, I'd have to shoot you. So it generated a key. So if we have a look at what's in that tree, we can see there's a public and private key pair, which is exactly what we want. And we can go in, let's go have a look at them. There's my public key, and notice it has the user ID and the host name at the end, but this is the public key. It begins with SSH RSA, so it uses the RSA encryption algorithm. And we have the private key. So this is the private key. So we never give this one out. This one we have to keep very secure. But the public key we do give out. So the public key is what we are going to use to, what we're going to give to GitLab. So let's have a look at GitLab. I've already opened it on my user ID, as you can see here. So I went to my user ID, and it actually has a link, SSH keys. So GitHub will be a bit different, Bitbucket a bit different, but they all have somewhere that you can give it SSH keys. And here, so what it says is I have to take that public key and paste it in here and then give it a title. So I'm going to give it the title VM, and it'll pick the expiry from the key. So let me go and get a copy of the key. I mean, you can install some Xclip or something like that, but I'm just going to use copy-paste. So I'm going to take it from here. And so this is MOBA Xterm, and it always gives me this default. So I'm just going to cancel it because I don't want to paste it here. I want to paste it over here. Paste. So there we go. I have my key in there. And I'm just going to let the expiry default. I thought it would pull it from the key, but I'm going to let the expiry default. So now I'm going to add that key. So now I have a key in here that's from my, and it never expires. That's from, it has a couple of fingerprints and it never expires. So that key is good. So now I can use that key. So let's see how that works. So I've picked a simple repo that I am going to clone. So I have to clone it using the SSH, or I have to add that as my remote if I have a new project, but I'm just going to clone this one. So, and when you have it in the clipboard, it's Shift Insert for most terminals. So I just did Shift Insert. So it's going to clone that. So now it's looking at, it's got to save the key for the host. So I'm going to say yes, it's okay. And now I have to enter my passphrase. So I didn't have to give a user ID, it's just my passphrase, and it's, I hope I remember it. And there what it did was it cloned it. Oops, sorry. So it cloned it, and I'm going to create, I'm going to update it. Well, let's look at the remotes. So the remotes are my Git URI, sorry, which is the SSH URI. So it's always going to use the key. It's not going to ask me for the user ID password anymore. You can add both if you want, but in this case I just want SSH. So now I'm going to, so I added my new file. So really it is a dummy file to demo SSH keys. I want to delete it eventually. It's pausing. So now I'm meeting my passphrase. And there you go. So the problem with the key, not problem, but the key is unique. to this host. So even though I can share keys, what I usually do, it's not a good idea to share keys, so what I usually do is I'll generate a key on my desktop, and any hosts I'm working on, I'll generate a key on them, and then I'll add the keys to I'll add the keys to the repository I'm working on, so that I can, oops, wrong one, preferences. So I'll add whatever keys I need, and as you can see here, I have a lot of keys. I've got one for Cora, that's my Windows box here, then one of my Ubuntu boxes. I think this is the one we just added, and then there's another one for another VM, so that I have different keys for different systems. So that's usually the best way to go. So there we go. So what we did was we added those keys, and now we can use them. We just have to remember the passphrase. We don't have to remember anything to do with. So the two things we have to do are remember the passphrase, and also use the SSH URIs for the Git repository. So let's take a quick look at the tree again. So if I want to use this, now I have the known hosts because I connected to GitLab. If I want to add my key to GitHub, it's very similar. Bitbucket, it's very similar. And then when I connect, I'll get more known hosts. So what we did here was, there's a one-time setup for each host. So when I need to generate an SSH key when I first start using a host. And then I need to, for every GitLab, or for every Git server, I need to share my public key with it. And then when I'm using the local repos, I either use the Git URI as my remote for a new repo, or when I'm cloning, I use the Git URI. And then when I use those repos, each time I pull or push, it'll ask for the SSH passphrase, and that will be used for, so SSH will be used for encryption. And then always keep your private key private. So that's it. That's everything for this. Bye.